It is an art, learning to spoil each other and be spoiled. And it reminds me of where lavish is used in the Bible in 1 John 3:1. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. That is our example for like a godly level of spoiling, lavishing love on each other in an abundant way.
In all of the good times and even the trials, through tears and through laughter, yeah, I know that I'll smile when I think of you. Smile for the things you do. Smile, God gave me you. You are the reason I smile. Yeah.
This is Behind Our Smiles
Pursuing connection,
and finding joy.
even in the struggle.
Welcome back to another episode of the Behind Our Smiles Marriage Podcast. We are Joe and Tara Buchanan. We're so glad that you're hanging out with us.
Yeah, and I'm excited for today's episode. Are you, Joe?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So before we get started with that, we do want to share what makes you smile about your husband or wife. We love hearing from you. Every message means something, whether it's short or long.
It always makes us smile.
It makes us smile.
Sometimes chuckle.
And hopefully makes you
Sometimes laugh.
smile, or your husband or your wife smile if they hear your message on the podcast. Today we're hearing from Christina, and she is talking about her husband, Matt. And she says, he says things every day just to make me laugh, the way he takes care of our son and loves him, the way he loves me and buys me special treats when he goes shopping to let me know he was thinking of me, his servant's heart, and, this is a bonus, keeps everything clean and organized. This woman is a blessed woman.
Yes, that's very fun.
You're just kind of like, you can tell she's like ran out of things, not ran out of things, but the list kept going and going and going. And we're kind of sharing about that today with being close to Valentine's Day and the time of year that we like to hopefully show our love to a
Yes.
romantic person, romantic partner. I mean, it has its own baggage to the holiday, but it is traditionally what we talk about.
Well, and how we can exercise the things that we would want to do well on Valentine's Day all year round.
And not everyone makes it a big deal, including us. I don't think Valentine's Day is the most important day of the year.
No, we end up
By far.
sometimes on the years that we have celebrated Valentine's Day, it's never fallen on Valentine's Day
Yeah.
because something's always happening on that day. So-
But it is a good time of year to kind of reflect and think, hey, how well is our romantic connection going in our marriage? You know, am I finding ways to make my husband or wife feel special, like Christina mentioned, just those little things you're doing above and beyond to say, I'm thinking of you. I picked this up at the store for you. I'm going to make you laugh today. And when we do that throughout the year, that really does make us feel very loved.
Right. And I think you said it over the years too. I'll be like, I'm not really celebrating Valentine's Day. I might get you a card or something, but we really don't celebrate it. And you're like, yeah, but we celebrate it all year round. So it's, it's okay. So I do think the things that we would put into practice on that day, like I said just a few minutes ago, if we do that throughout the year, then it becomes a win.
Well, especially when we think about when your relationship first starts and romance is first blossoming, there's this idea that we do spoil each other with extra level of attention and love. We go all out in these things. And we're seeing this too in our sons who have found wives and girlfriends and just the extravagant displays of love. And you kind of say to yourself as you're watching them, wow, they're getting spoiled. Like they are getting so much attention and love that you just know it's beautiful to watch. But we all also know that sometimes that can fade away over time. So it's like learning to keep the spirit of spoiling alive. I don't know if that's correct to say, but I kind of like saying, hey, we can spoil each other because out of love, right?
But what about if I have a negative view on spoiling, or I'm like, I want to take care of you.
Yes.
I want to have that servant's heart. I want to give you special treats, but do we call it spoiling?
Well, I think we look at spoiling primarily when we think about our kids or toddlers, that we think, okay, we give them everything they ever want. They will be spoiled in terms of expecting everyone to walk around and give them everything they want. So I think saying too much of a good thing is bad. And with children, I think there's a definite concern about that. In fact, now, see, I think with parenting, we didn't really believe in spoiling our kids in that sense, but we definitely let our the grandparents spoil the kids. And it's a beautiful place to be, to say, hey, we can't give our kids this much level of everything they want, all the stuff. But Grandma and Grandpa can kind of do the above and beyond of stuff that we don't do for them. And our kids grew to have that attachment to go, this is really nice.
Yeah, in fact, our son, Jeremiah, had a famous quote back a few years ago.
Yes, when he was 10, Now, he's much older now, but he did say, Mom, I know what it's like to be spoiled by my grandparents. So when I have kids, I want you to spoil them. I want them to feel that joy. That just hurt. That just touched my heart. So I'm like, that the spoiling of just, hey, we're going to do something special has so much memories of joy in his heart that he knew that when he was at Grandma and Grandpa's house, he was just given an extra level of love and saying, yes, we can do that. And an extra bowl of ice cream and let's go pick up more candy and watch one more movie. And he recognized that at 10, like, this is pretty special.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think personally, like I love the idea of the word spoil there because and I mean your parents still had rules and boundaries and all of those things, but the kids got to do extra things that made them feel as though they were spoiling. But I think if we were really to dissect that word, we would look at more like cherishing or taking care of or going above and beyond for someone.
And in the end, especially for grandparents, it's making those kids feel loved.
Yeah.
And in our marriage, the purpose of spoiling each other is to say, I want you to feel loved. But with, talking about spoiling for kids, Joe, how do you feel about being spoiled? Now, I grew up being cared for and loved, but I don't think I was spoiled. But how do you feel about when I do things for you that kind of spoil you?
Yeah, it's very nice.
You like it?
Very good, yes.
It's a little bit of a strange feeling for you, though.
It is. Yeah, I don't remember being spoiled growing up, but I think... And I think from that perspective, it's really funny. And I think Jeremiah got that, like, hey, Grandma and Grandpa know how to spoil us. But he also recognized this idea that if he was spoiled all the time, that probably wouldn't be a good thing. And so I think like the same thing. I don't think I would ever say no, right? You spoil me every single day. I mean, it's like, this is awesome.
Well, this idea of everything I possibly want, I get. From the receiver's point of view, it's unhealthy, right? Whatever I want, I must get. That's spoiled attitude. But from a giver's point of view, saying, I want to give to you to make you feel loved. And so that's what we're focusing on today is how can we give in a way that our spouse can feel healthy spoiled.
Yeah, and I think that's why the word spoil kind of rings differently with me. I don't think I spoil you outside of the fact that I want to cherish you and I want you to experience good things. So yes, when you're doing those things, and I think also there are times when you think you're spoiling me and I don't necessarily receive it that way, right? So I don't, it's just, or I've missed it. Like you've done something really nice for me and I've completely missed it. So I think, I do enjoy it. How do you like to be spoiled?
I enjoy being spoiled by you. I'm just going to say that. You've spoiled me quite a bit. You've gotten better and better as a husband at spoiling me and learning how to spoil me well. Just that sense of care and attention. And so I'm okay with that. I mean, with some exceptions, there might be times I'm not in a place to receive that spoiling. But we're kind of going to break down what that spoiling really is.
Well, first, I'm going to back up just a hair to go back to the reason I think I was wrestling through my thoughts there were I love when you quote unquote spoil me. It's fantastic. I think I've learned better over the years on how to receive that. I don't think I always received it well. And I didn't always, my response wasn't always favorable when you wanted to do something nice for me. I felt like I didn't deserve it or this is so foreign to me. But it
can't be real.
You can't be real.
Because sometimes if you spoil someone and you get something so obnoxiously nice that it's like, I can't receive it. It can't be true. So yes, I think we both, and we'll share this, I think, later on, this idea how to receive that. But for what spoiling looks like for real, like maybe in our marriage and in general, what are we going for? I made an acrostic here to help us understand. I'm like, okay, when I say my husband spoils me, or we're saying let's add some spoiling to our marriage, what does that really mean? And so
I like that the S.
Easy.
Yeah, the S is the best word of spoiling, in my opinion, because it really is what keeps spoiling from, I think, becoming something spoiled. Something more negative is you use the word serve, and I like that. And basically doing whatever for the other person.
Whatever.
Yep.
And that can be whatever.
Especially when it's things we don't want to do, right?
Yes. If you kind of know, honey, I have to do this little task. I don't want to do it. And you're like, I'll do it for you. Yeah. That's a spoiling thing. Saying, I know I should take care of this and I have to take care of this, but if you could take care of it for me, I will feel spoiled. And so just those little acts of service, I think, go a long way for spoiling each other.
So let me ask you a question on this. On the S, we'll stay on the S for a second, on serve. Thinking about like, I will do something you don't want to do. That's kind of spoiling you. How does it make you feel when I do something you don't want to do that I also don't want to do?
Right. Yes. It's not a matter of like, I prefer this. It's called, no one wants to go do that right now, but I will take care of it for you. And really, Joe, you do handle a lot of difficult, messy, complicated tasks, even anything to do with being outside in the cold. And I don't have to ever worry about shoveling the driveway ever again. I'm spoiled. I really don't have to worry about ever pumping my own gas. I'm spoiled. Like, I know that. I'm like, I could take care of those things myself. I can, and I'm capable of it. But I do feel spoiled when you say, I'll take care of those tasks and don't worry about it. So again, that's different for every marriage and in every situation of what are those little things you can do to make your spouse feel spoiled by saying,
And
just do it.
Just back to the S and serve, Tara makes me a lunch every single day and writes a note. Every single day I get a note from you, Tara. And that's awesome. That is, I am being spoiled. I don't have to even think about my lunch. I know it's going to be there when I'm ready to walk out the door. My laundry is always done. If I even hint at the fact that, hey, you know what? It's coming up near the end of the week and it's done by the time I get home. So you do spoil me a lot. And then obviously dinner every night. I mean, just there's so many things that I could list that I probably, unfortunately, at times take for granted in the way that you serve me, but I'm really grateful.
But that serving really is an act of a lavish, kind of love. And for the P, as I was thinking this through, I thought it is very personal. It's not, in our marriage, it's not a general act of service, right? It's not just I gave money to the charity or I helped our neighbor out necessarily. With this spoiling, it's so personal to you, right? And it's not just a general act, and it's kind of being keyed in to going, what do you need personally?
No, I like that a lot because even with 4 kids, there are 6 people in our family, and spoiling you by doing something wouldn't necessarily be spoiling one of my other kids. It may be taking away from them something that they actually do love to do. So yes, it's looking personally at but then to do that, I have to know you. I have to really be able to listen and hear.
Well, the other part of that personal spoiling is the love that you show me in a personal way that speaks to my emotions, my heart. So you kind of can spoil someone emotionally. Like, if you're having an issue, I'm listening. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. Like, it's again, even though we hope and expect that in our marriage, I still don't take it for granted that there's something personal going on that you are like, I'm there, right? I'm going to spoil you. Whatever you need, let me take care of it.
So S is serve, P is personal. So we're getting into the O. You have over deliver, and I'm wondering, how is that different from serve?
It's more than you expect. So like, I normally make you a sandwich, let's say for lunch, but then there's like, how can you like up your game and do one notch better? And so if I throw in a cookie or it's like something over expectations. So I think with spoiling, you mentioned like with the grandkids, it's like, okay, mom lets you have a cookie, grandma and grandpa let you have 3 cookies. Yeah. It's just like, wow, I don't normally get 3 cookies. So I think that maybe not that everyday spoiling, but that once in a while going, I'm just going to go above and beyond to like do something a little bit extra just to kind of wow you.
And I've noticed when you've done that for me, when it comes out of the blue, it's the best. Like on my birthday, it's great. Don't get me wrong. I still really appreciate it, or at Christmas or whatever. But when it comes out of the blue, that's when it really is. That's spoiling. That's really amazing.
So I think we're saying like for over deliver, that's like can't be like an everyday over deliver. Otherwise that would be the baseline of what we're sharing with each other. But it's like the spoiling part kind of comes where, wow, like that was way more than I was expecting, way more than I was thinking you could do. And so I think looking for ways as husbands and wives to go, how can I just up my game and go one notch? Maybe we're used to doing certain nice things for our husband and wife. And we go, let me find one little thing to do that tops it.
Yeah.
Just goes, it's like this customer service industry. Like, I just want them to give me 5 stars and a review because they're just like, wow, that was amazing. So I know the times that you've over delivered to me and more than what I was expecting or hoping for, that makes me feel loved and spoiled.
And cherished.
And cherished, yes.
So we're up to the I in spoil. And it's probably one of my absolute favorite words. So I'm glad that you chose it. Intentional.
Well, with all the things we're doing to love each other, there is sometimes a little element of planning ahead. And so it's not always, some spoiling is like spur of the moment, right? Oh, guess what I'm going to do? I'll do it. And you're sometimes good at that last minute spur of the moment. But really good spoiling is like, I'm planning and I want you to feel loved and cherished and cared for.
Yeah. So is spur of the moment equal to lack of planning, right? But no, when you're intentional, here's what I've learned. If I'm intentional about it, I get more joy out of it because I get the planning, I get to think about how you're going to respond, the joy that it's going to bring, hopefully, right? And then how that impact is going to be on you. So yes, there are spur of the moments. I'm at the store, I see something you love, I buy it, whatever.
Yes.
But and those are nice. And I think they can't be overlooked either. But I think there are times when I know you've made me an eclair cake out of the blue, or anything that I know has taken you time.
Forethought.
Forethought and energy.
Yes.
To do that, then that means even more.
And most wives, speaking for the wives in the world, do appreciate when they see with their husband going, oh, that was not a last minute decision. That wasn't, I just stopped the store and found this, but actually I looked ahead of time, a week ahead, to make sure it was in stock, that it would be there. Like, that little bit of foreplanning goes a long way with making you feel spoiled. It wasn't just I better do something nice for her today, right now. We're just thinking ahead. So intentional. Yes.
Yeah. So we're up to the L, the last letter. And you have 3 guesses. The first 2 don't count. What L word? This is around Valentine's Day. Hint, hint. What L word would be perfect in there? And so, yeah, you pick love.
So, the reason I picked love, not just because spoiling is loving someone, but it reminds me of 1 Corinthians 13 and our chapter about love. And this idea that you can do all these right things, but without love, I'm a clinging symbol. You can do all these things, but without love, what's the point? Meaning we can still kind of do those nice things, those acts of service for each other. But if we're not doing them out of a heart of true love for each other, it doesn't go the distance. So even with like the whole grandkids and my parents loved on our kids so well that yes, there was the candy in the movies, but really they said we were feeling love. So without love, candy and cookies are not the same level of joy.
And I want to just camp out here for a moment, because I think sometimes, especially around Valentine's Day and things like that, love can be associated with a feeling. Like, I'm feeling in love with you. So then, of course, it's easy to spoil you. But love is so much more than that. And in fact, in Reengage, we learned that it's the stubborn preoccupation with the needs of another, and how the behavior, the feeling actually chases the behavior. It's the decision to love. Then you get those feelings. So when I'm spoiling you and I'm feeling in love with you, it's because the decision was made first out of the I, which is intentional. But yeah, I like love.
It's not just the nice things. It's the nice things done with a true heart of love, again, and wanting to take care of the needs
So I'm going
of
to go
another.
through that one more time. So here's spoil, according to Tara. This is spelled out: serve, personal, over-deliver, intentional, and love.
That's a love. So with spoiling, like mentioned in the beginning, we can have a negative view of spoiling, either thinking that we are being overly indulged, which is not healthy. We could worry about feeling entitled if we get to spoil someone too much. But I think there's other issues that spoiling does not work in our marriage as well. We go, okay, I don't think that's working, the spoiling thing. And the first thing that came to mind for me was we spoil our spouse with the wrong motives.
Yeah. We're after something, want to get something.
We're doing something really over, above, and beyond, because we're hoping that they return something in the same level. And if I do this really, really nice for my spouse, they may do something really, really nice for me. So cross it out. Wrong motives.
The funny thing is that you know me better than anybody on the planet. So when I do have wrong motives, you fish that out so much quicker than anyone else. And then that actually ends up hurting our relationship and hurting our connection instead of driving us together. So that's
not love. If you're looking at what this might get you, you are no longer loving, and it does not count as spoiling. It's self-indulgence. So
another thing that you and I talked through is public credit. So and this can show up at times when the spoiling isn't happening, but yet you want others to think that you are spoiling your spouse, or you want others to.
Some of what we do is somewhat public knowledge, and it can be tempting to go, if I do this amazing thing for my spouse, people will look at it and say, wow, what a wonderful spouse you are. And they'll, wow, did you hear what so-and-so did for his wife? And if that is your motive for spoiling, wrong answer. It's not that we don't do good things for each other to receive credit from
I'm not
anyone
saying
else.
I have or have not read things online.
Yes.
This is, and I think, if I'm being completely honest, there are times that I've been guilty of that as well. It's like, wow, this person thinks it, and then I have to go back and think, was that my motive?
Yes,
Was that
I think
really
we
what I was
all
thinking?
can be vulnerable to wanting to get spoiled for the wrong reasons. The other wrong part of spoiling, at least what I've seen before in marriages, we're not being aware of how your spouse, this is going to sound bad, how your spouse wants to be spoiled. So we have some very well-intentioned husbands just
Or
want
wives.
to spoil,
Yes.
but they're not at all what the wife wants.
Or the husband.
And it's almost like, again, you're
Yes.
picking up the wrong sandwich again and again and again. It's like, I don't like that sandwich. It's like, so really back to that intentionality, being
Now,
aware
see,
of how your spouse wants to get spoiled.
This is not videoed. This podcast, we're in a studio, and if you could see the look on Tara's face when she shared that, I have to ask the question: are you thinking about something in
Experience?
particular, personal?
Last year at Valentine's Day, we did an episode about that, right?
Yes.
Flowers, and I've moved on
I have
since
gotten
then.
this through the years. I've learned, or I'm learning, I should say. But I've gotten this wrong a lot, especially in those early days, because I think I bought into that love as a feeling. This is going to seem so romantic. This is going to blow her off her feet. This is going to, and I wasn't thinking about you at all. I was thinking about how the romantic it looked or felt. And so I had to learn through the years that, yeah, doing these things actually create more work for you, or does this or does that, and it doesn't
This
really
is not a
spoil
spoiling
you.
moment. This is it. So continually growing, and we never get there 100%. I think we're at a better end right now because we've had 30 years to work on this. But if you're newly or married, it takes more time to figure out how does your spouse, I'm going to say spouse, start saying spouse, your spouse want to be spoiled.
So, and a personal tip at my expense, because this is where I've learned, I used to think it was unromantic to ask. Like, I just have to figure it out, right? It's more romantic that way. What I have learned is that by simply asking you is a whole lot better result.
Yes, absolutely. So one more other touchy subject, us
Uh-oh.
included,
Touchy.
for how spoiling does not always work in marriage. Why does it not work? If we're talking about how wonderful it is, why it could not work is
yes.
money considerations, which is your spouse is spending a lot of money on you in order to spoil you, but you're not so keen on how much money he may be spending.
Well, because maybe you're aware of the budget and you understand that this is exceeding.
So there are times when in an effort to spoil each other, we could make a wrong financial decision that ends up putting our families in jeopardy. And so it's harder to receive. Now, all that being said, I've also erred when it's on the other end, when you just want to buy me some flowers for $20 and I'm kind of nitpicking that $20. That $20 is not really putting us into financial jeopardy. It's just maybe not what I would do with $20. So I've had to learn, like, okay, for you, Joe, you've been very good about the budget and very trustworthy to kind of know, but sometimes I don't want you to spoil me because I'm going, how does this affect our budget? And how does this affect that? But making sure that we are not spoiling in a way that puts our families in jeopardy. Again, okay, I love this thing we did, but now we are getting kicked out of our house.
Well, and I think, too, I've learned that there is not surprising you is okay. It doesn't always have to be a surprise. So when we're talking about something that is more budget impacting, a significant Christmas gift or whatever, sometimes I won't necessarily have it for you on Christmas. I will have the idea for you, say, here's what I'm thinking about doing, but I wanted to talk it through with you first. If you want to do something else, we can do something else. Or if it's in the middle of the year and it doesn't even need to be a surprise, I'll come to you and say, hey, I noticed that you could really use this, or I noticed that this could make a difference. What do you think? And that's helped us a lot, because it's a bummer when I get you something really nice and then you're like, can we afford this?
Yes, not sure. So I think occasionally to have, hey, this is how I would like to spoil you. I notice this is a need in your life. Looks like you're due for a new computer. Would you like a better phone? Does it be a better couch? Whatever the big expense is, and coming, like when you spoil me, it's still saying, if this is something you need and want, it's a priority for us as a family.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you're getting that thing. And then I'm like, maybe I'll question you really briefly. Are we okay with that purchase? Don't we have this coming up as well? And we talk about it that way. But then going, oh, this is exciting. Let's go pick it out. Let's make the plan. Let's start looking and learn to and that kind of leads up to our last part, of learning to receive that, because I think I struggle with wanting to receive a large gift. Like worried about, it can be okay financially, worried about what if it, I don't know. So there's ways I'm
And
inhibited too with
understand,
receiving.
because Tara is a thrifter, a large
I know,
gift
that's
could
my
be
problem.
$10. You know, it's
That's my
like,
problem. I have a hard
but
time.
but that's okay.
When Joe wants to
Yeah.
buy something full price for me, I just have a hard time with it.
But see, for me, the gift is the full price. Like,
But I saw you
this
want to
is-
spoil me, and I'm learning to be spoiled a little bit. Like when Joe wants to buy me something that he sees I like, okay, it's not a thrifted, it's not secondhand, it's a new sweater for $25. I'm like, I don't know, that's so much money for a sweater. But then he kind of says, hey, I see that this is going to bring you some joy. Get the sweater. I'm like, I don't know, but are you sure? And instead of saying you can receive a gift, it's okay.
And it's gone the other way as well. I've had to learn how to receive better as well. I think I hurt your feelings a lot in the early days because you were trying to do nice things for me and I just didn't know how to receive them. And so I've learned how to make that adjustment. And a lot of that came through conversations. Hey, Joe, I noticed you didn't really like that. What's going on? And
I made you something extravagant,
Right.
you didn't like it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, phooey. So it is an art learning to spoil each other and be spoiled. And I keep coming back to that word lavish, this idea of above and beyond, almost like a luxury feeling. Like this is way more than we need. It's not the bare bones of what we need. It's more. And it reminds me of where lavish is used in the Bible in 1 John 3:1. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. I'm like, okay, that is our kind of our example for like a godly level of spoiling. We're lavishing love on each other in an abundant way.
yeah. And maybe you're listening and you don't feel spoiled. There was a big part of my life where I didn't feel spoiled. And it's not just that I didn't feel it, I really wasn't spoiled. But it wasn't until I met Jesus that I realized my value isn't tied to that. It's not tied to how others treat me or don't treat me. It's tied to everything that God says that I am. And so once I met Jesus and understood, and this has been a lifelong process, I'm nowhere to where I need to be from understanding God's love. I think we won't get that till we're there with him. But I want to encourage you to say that just because there isn't someone in your life who values you or gets you or understands you or chooses to spoil you doesn't mean that you don't have someone in your life, speaking of our Heavenly Father, who does lavish his love on you and in essence does spoil us. And it was after I met Jesus and I began to grow in my relationship with him, the spoiling still wasn't happening on this side of heaven from
people.
purple, right? From the people on the planet. But as I look back, and I don't think I recognized it from God. People, you hear all kinds of things, these God wink moments, right? You hear people refer to it. I believe that's God spoiling us in a way. He's giving us, he's over delivering, right? He's giving us more than we anticipated or expected. And I can look back now and I can say, whoa, look at how God has lavishly loved on me over and over and over. And Tara, you're sitting right here with me. You are probably the single greatest example of that God didn't owe me this, but he chose to spoil me with it.
Well, and part of the key to being spoiled is first coming to that place of saying, I don't deserve this.
Yes.
And when you come from a place of saying, I don't deserve it, God doesn't owe it to me, we look around at every single blessing and go, wow, we're spoiled. This morning, the sun came up.
Yeah.
I can't believe how spoiled we are.
My car started.
I mean, like every morning,
The heat was
beautiful
working.
sunrise.
I had food in the fridge.
So even our relationship with each other or with the Lord to go, when we come from a place of saying, hey, I'm not entitled to these lavish forms of affection or love, it allows me to feel more spoiled in every single moments to go, I'm just feeling that lavish love on our lives going, okay, I'm loved. And whether, again, from our spouse, but for sure from God, that we know that he's spoiled us way more than we've deserved.
And I know we've talked about this before, but it's not a gift if it's owed to us, right? God wants to bless us. If you are struggling today, you listen to this episode and you say, oh, that must be nice to have someone to spoil you. I get that. I would love to pray for you. And if you want to talk it out or just want us to pray for you, drop us a line. You don't have to share any details you don't feel comfortable sharing. Just, hey, I need prayer. Tara, T-A-R-A, at BehindOurSmiles.com.
And if your husband or wife is good at spoiling you,
Yes.
we would love to hear how. Share what makes you smile, how they make you smile.
Because I'm pretty sure if they're good at spoiling you, they're making you smile. So yeah, share that with us. Again, our email address, Tara at T-A-R-A, Tara at BehindOurSmiles.com. So, any big plans to spoil me over
It's
the
Happy
next
Valentine's Day.
week? Yeah.
Oh, I better start thinking about that. Is that the I for intentional?
I just love putting you on the spot. We'll see you again next week.